Good morning, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Driven by Christ Auto. So, today is Monday morning. We're starting a new week, and I just kind of wanted to recap. Saturday, we did get Project Lamborghini or Lambo done. We end up getting that car sold and everything taken care of. In fact, the owner come down here and picked it up from us. If y'all don't remember the episode with the boy that brought in the LS swap BMW, it was Daddy's vehicle and he took it out and tore it up. But his dad was the one who bought the vehicle from Johnny's dealership. You know, he helped us find a buyer. We cut him in on the profit because he helped us find a buyer, and the customer come and picked up the vehicle directly from us. We had everything ready to go, and it was a unique Lamborghini. It was a special edition. It had a custom paint job, and we restored it back to its uh, original outside standing. But the owner did want us to build a a driven by Christ race motor, guys. So we gave it to him. We took it from 500 and I think it was like 530 horsepower. We took it all the way up over 1,000 horsepower. So we doubled the amount of horsepower that he had in that vehicle. So needless to say, he was very happy. The top speed on the car was 230 miles per hour. We actually took it down there and opened it up in the 1 mile stretch. But anyways, it's Monday. We got to grab a customer, and we kind of went over the customer also in that last episode. But I'm going to read it again. But before we get started, let's take a message from our Lord today. Everlasting Jesus, help us to worship you only, making you first and foremost in our life. The Bible teaches that you are a jealous God, and that idolatry has always been the downfall of your people. Current idols, people, possession, status, and wealth are some of the most popular idols these days. To avoid the pitfall of bowing down before these things, we must be self-control and alert. You've been showing us that false gods never satisfy, instead they stir up lust for a constant more and more. When we seek you instead of the world's idols, we experience your joy and peace. These, this third, or wait a minute, hold on, guys. Okay. These thirst our soul, providing deep satisfaction. The glitter of the world is tiny and temporary. The light of your presence is brilliant and everlasting. We want to walk in the light with you, becoming a beacon through whom others are drawn to you. In your priceless name, Jesus' name, amen. Alright, guys, so the references from here are going to be from Exodus 34:14, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, Romans chapter 15, verse 13, and 1 John chapter 1, verse 7. Alright, guys, so that's the message from our Lord today. So let's go ahead and I've already went up in the shop and turned it on. I had to grab the camera anyway, so come back out here and grab some stuff out of the old work truck. Jamie's already in the office handling phone calls and taking care of stuff, and Lord have mercy, she already ran off with my charger, boy, I'm telling you. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I'm over here trying to mess with a charger in the background. Alright, so let's go review this customer. We're going to go ahead and give him a call back. Alright, so good morning. We need an expert opinion. I don't know what happened. I was planning a family vacation for next week. I started the car yesterday and was trying to turn on the lights, and there was nothing. I thought that maybe the lights were fried, but as it turned out, that wasn't the problem. soon after, my car wasn't reacting to the key at all. I don't know what happened. Please check what the problem is. It would be good if the car was fit for a longer trip and if it were more reliable. At least that's what they market it as. I'm almost sure that all these indicator lights were lighting up properly because they're supposed to light up, right? Okay, so all the dummy lights are lighting up on the vehicle. That means that no, that means this vehicle is in terrible condition. So it's going to need an oil service, and I would love to know what other task is, and it won't let me look at it. So we're going to go ahead and get this customer, we're going to get Jamie to give them a call, and we'll meet them outside whenever they get here. Alright, so customer dropped off the vehicle, kind of gave me what was up, what was going on. So let's get into here, and we are actually, hold on, I can't reach the OBD port here, so let me do it right here. Let's see. Come on. Alright. I guess there's no OBD port up underneath here. Oh, cool. This is one of them little VTEC motors that it's basically like a Honda VTEC engine. You can see right here, there's your variable valve lift controller, and then you got VVTi. Well, it's even better than that. It's got VVTi on it, but this is a 3-cylinder, guys. 3 cylinders that has like close to like 200 and some odd horsepower. It's crazy. Well, no, not on this one. My bad. I lied. And the modern day 3 cylinders are like producing. I'm already seeing what the problem is. Like, one, there's no belt on the car. Like, where is this at? We got a bad, and they've also taken out the cylinder head too. So this thing's done thrown a timing belt, guys. I can already see that is just visually looking that is what's done failed. But let's go ahead and diagnose it anyways, just to see what we're up against. Let's see what the OBD scan tool has to say. Okay, so we do need a tune-up. Ignition coils are good, but it just needs some new spark plugs, which I can only imagine why it needs spark plugs if it threw a timing belt. I guarantee you the tops of them pistons are all smashed in. So, guys, this is kind of looking like we may be pulling a motor on this car. We got low coolant. That's another bad thing. So, I don't know what necessarily took this engine out. But, yeah, you got the cam phasers. You got the variable valve. They threw every type of performance part at this car. You got cam sensors here. Like, they did everything they could to squeeze the power out of this little motor. But alright, so let's get it in there on the lift, and actually no, let's go pre-wash it first. Remember, we take care of our customers at Driven by Christ Auto. Alright, so they get a detailed wax, car wash. I got some guys out here that take care of it for me, but you know, I guess they're angels because we don't ever see them. So, the angels of the car wash. But anyways, no, the angels don't work for me. They only work for Jesus. I work for Jesus. So, you know, there we go. We're gonna get in here and get it all cleaned up. We got minimal stains on the seat, nothing too bad. Looks like somebody spilt a drink in here of some sort, but other than that, we got everything else. Our coverall. Man, guys, I'm telling you, I'm not a sponsor for O'Reilly Auto Parts, but if you really want your tires to look this slick and your dashboard and all these components, I can tell you 2 things that you need. One, the cheap Windex from Walmart with ammonia. That's what you use on all your plastics and like these little touchscreen radios. And if you want your leather seats to shine and your dashboard that may be vinyl or plastic or leather, and it has a UV protectant, coverall all day long. Go to O'Reilly's. They normally keep it behind the counter because everybody steals it, because that's how good the product is. It's called coverall. You could also use it on oxidized headlights, and they also look brand new after you spray it onto them. It puts a UV protectant on it. I don't know what all they got into there, but it will put a spanking on Armor All or anything else you've ever used in your vehicle, and it smells so good. And it's called Cover All. It's in a blue can with a black lid. But alright guys, so we got the customer car detailed. Let's go ahead and get it moved on the rack. Alright, so we already know the car needs a tune-up. It's going to need an oil change, but before we do an oil change, we're going to get it up off of the ground because we're going to have to drain the current oil into there. We're going to see if we can't pull off this alternator and see if we can't get it fixed really quick. That way we got something to charge the battery with. Let me see if the start. Okay, so the starter's still good. The head is absolutely destroyed. I think it's done through a timing belt, but we are going to attempt to do a compression test, and those tools will identify if it's done throwing a timing belt. So let's see if we can't get this alternator. Actually, before we do that, I'm doing wrong stuff again. Guys, the battery was so dead there was no power going to the alternator anyways, so obviously because it didn't have a belt on it, but it was in a 96% condition. So it was a new battery. They just ran it down trying to start it with no alternator belt. So anyways, let's see if we can't. Oh no, already bad news for the customer. I can't. Apparently the alternator was so destroyed that I couldn't do it. So let's I couldn't fix it. Let's get the computer fired up. Let's hit O'Reilly's up. Do the O'Reilly jingle. Oh, no, I'm not doing it. But anyways, we're gonna have to go to the electronics section, and it's a basic alternator. We're gonna go ahead and put in the order for that. I guess I do need, oh yeah, before we start today, I forgot to tell y'all. So I broke down all the parts, all the scrap parts from the Lamborghini project and our barnyard find, and our current money that we started with today is $378,000. Woo, Jesus is great. He got us a buyer for the Lambo. We ain't sitting at no below 100 grand no more, and we got over 5,000 performance scrap pieces. So we're building it up, guys, and once we hit that 10,000 mark, we're gonna start putting it into possibly our drag car, or we're gonna build another race car. But we've already got a Class A car, and we'll make the decision on that. We'll go check our. I showed y'all how to look up where you keep your cars at in the inventory or at our lockup warehouse. How you access your lockup warehouse, so you can find the vehicles that you've bought them from the junkyard or you know, barnyard finds. We went through all of our cases of blessings, so it's just we're back to that Monday morning grind. So alright, so we're waiting for O'Reilly's to get us that alternator. Let's take a look at anything else that we can find. I do not see anything suspension related on the car that I can physically look at from up underneath it. But I'm not gonna drain the oil because we do need oil in there while we're spinning this thing over. Oil is pretty halfway used, half its life is gone. It's not too dark. I wish in the drag racing stuff and whenever you race your car, your oil would actually wear out and your cars were actually maintenanceable. Like where as you raced it, if you hit the rev limiter, it does a little bit of damage, or you know, red line in the motor, anything like that, and just overall use of the car actually deducted the wear and tear. Like if you're spinning tires, you know, obviously it's gonna wear the tires a little bit quicker, but it would be so nice to have a car that actually wore out. You know, there was a damage thing into here where it made you respect the vehicle a lot more. If you got out there and lost control of the vehicle and wrecked it and totaled it, you know, you could always tear it down and rebuild it again. I ain't gonna say, you know, where you have a complete destruction of a vehicle where you can't even fix it no more. I'm not saying that, but at least where you can go back and build it, because guys, we've seen from a lot of YouTubers, you can take pretty much fully totaled cars, and with the right tools you can stretch the frame back out, you can re-weld it, you can fix it. So anyways, alright, so we got our alternator here. We're gonna go ahead and put it back on, and daggum, you know what I forgot to do? We already had an alternator here that we could have used temporarily instead of waiting, but I didn't notice that. I didn't know that we had it in our inventory. But we need a belt. We got to order a belt now. So I'm gonna send Jamie across the street real quick to get that. I'm just gonna put in the order for it really quick, because we need that part like right now. Alright, and the order's put in, and I'm sending Jamie over there. Alright, so while she's running across, let's see, I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Let's go ahead and do another diagnose. We're going to check electronics. Obviously, we know the battery's not in there. We got a temporary jump box that we can put on it. That way it gives us a little bit of intel. We got bad fuses. Relays. Alright, so a couple of relays and fuses. Since we've used our tool to identify this, you can come over here to the relay box, pull the cap off of it, and what you want to do is back off of it. And what you want to do is go to the physical examination mode, and you want to look at the fuse box. So right here, I wish there was a way that they would actually let you zoom in on it, but we know that this relay is bad, that relay is bad, and the first two fuses are bad. So once you get to that part, you can go back into regular mode, click on it. You already know this one's bad. Will it let you even look at this right now? Okay, that's kind of crazy. They need to make it where you can see that these parts are damaged. Alright, that one and this one are bad. So now we want to put new ones in. Alright, so we're going to put 100% relays back into there. We'll scrap our old ones. We'll get any type of gold or metal out of it. We always keep our metal. We don't let anything go without. We scrap glass, rubber, plastic. We recycle everything, and we get credits for it. Alright, so we took care of that. Let me put their cover back on and not a brand new one. Alright, so relays are taken care of. Jamie's got our belts here. So let's go ahead and slap this belt. Dang, they lost a whole tensioner. That's okay, because we got plenty of these in stock. We always keep tensioners. Alright, so we got a tensioner on there. So let's go ahead and grab their charged battery. We're going to throw it back in the car. And we're going to do a compression test to see if we're going to have to pull this motor out. I'm hoping it's everything that we can do in frame, but if it is thrown, if anything piston related comes back as bad, we got to pull the engine out. I mean, I've done an in frame before, but it is extremely hard, and you got to work around everything. So let's see what we're up against. Went up a little bit. Fuel rail. Oh, that was just the fuel. Okay, so we need a fuel rail. The injectors are bad, so come around here wherever the fuel rail is located at. Alright, where is the fuel rail? Oh, it's right here. I didn't even see it. Alright. So we're going to mark that in the parts that we need. We know that that's bad. We got to order that. Let's do the compression test. I accidentally did a fuel test, but I did forget to check that. So We got the fuel rail injectors marked. This is the bad one. So let's see what we're up against. Okay, we got a bad camshaft. Oh no. Alright, so it looks like they broke a camshaft and it did mess up one of the pistons. So it's not a complete engine rebuild, it's just one piston and connecting rod that got damaged. The block is still okay, so apparently maybe it just bent the wrist pin on the piston whenever it dropped the valve from the broken camshaft. It looks like maybe that it done all this while they were trying to start it up. That's the reason why they had all them Christmas lights going on the dashboard. But alright, so guys, I guess we're going to be doing our first in-frame. So in-frame is where you don't pull the transmission. You're leaving the block in the car. You're just literally pulling off the timing components. And we're gonna have to drain the reservoir because we are gonna have to pull the head off of this motor because it is destroyed. So we're gonna have to drain coolant. So let's go ahead and do that really quick. We'll get the coolant out of here, and we're also gonna go ahead and drain the oil because it looks like all the fluids need to be dealt with. Let's just go ahead and do that. We're gonna take care of the customer. I don't care if they ask for it. We're just gonna go ahead and drain all the fluids out. That way we don't have to worry about making a mess, and I can get all these plastic containers out of the way. We are also gonna bleed the brakes for them. They didn't request for a brake job. But now that we've identified everything on the work order, let's see what we are up against. So, okay, so they are wanting a brake job done. So we're going to be doing a brake job. We got the relays, an oil change, basic tune-up. We will be reusing their ignition coils because they're still good. The engine head is bad. Cam gear broke. The camshaft broke, and I don't see a timing belt. Maybe this is a timing chain, and it just never did break the chain. It just broke everything else. But either way, let's okay, yeah, all fluids are drained except for the oil. So let's get this thing up in the air. We'll go ahead and start pulling off the tires on it because we know we're going to have to do a brake job. That lets me know that there's something going on with the brakes. It looks like the rotors are in fairly good condition, but if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. We're going to pull it off. We'll resurface the rotors. That way, anytime that you're putting on new brakes on a car, they leave a natural wear in this rotor that is not completely smooth. So if you want your pad to grip this rotor with 100%, pad touching it and not just in certain places until it wears the pad uneven, you always want to have your rotors resurfaced. A lot of people just throw the new pads on there because eventually what happens is the grooves in the rotor cut into the brake pad, and then you do have 100% of the brake pad touching the rotor, but they tend to squeal a little bit before you do that. So if you can deal with the brakes squealing and possibly not having 100% of your braking power because 100% of this pad is not touching the rotor, until they break in, then that's a risk you can take. But the real thing to do is pull the rotors off, resurface them, put new pads, and you got 100% braking power. There's no break-in period. There's no squealing. That's how you do it in a real shop. But I understand, guys, some people can't afford that. That's the reason why at DrivenByChrist Auto, we do it for them. So we've already got pads in stock. We're going to go ahead and pull these off, get the rotors off, and we'll rebuild the brake calipers too while we're at it. It's just a couple of dollars, throw some new seals in. Comes with the brake job payment. So For the labor that we cost, for what we charge to do the brakes, it pays for all of that. And even if it didn't, we were still going to do it because we want them to have a quality braking car. That is the only thing that stops you from running into somebody and there being a lawsuit. As you know, everybody's out to sue each other nowadays. You be sitting in a car and you can almost hear them saying, yes, somebody ran into the back of us, we can sue their insurance now. It's a sad day that we live in, but it is very true. I've heard ex-friends of mine talk about this. Oh, I wish somebody would run into the back of me. Yeah, you say that until it's an 80,000 pound 18-wheeler and it crushes you in a little car like this and you don't even have the ability to sue them because you're dead. Don't wish for hurtful things like that. You never know what could be thrown at you, and you're only asking for it so you can cheat somebody and sue them for money. Don't be like that. Don't risk your family over that. But anyways, just so you can have some money, because you may get what you want, but it may not be the way that you want it. Alright, let's get the oil out of this car, and we're going to go ahead and undo the exhaust. Remember, check our magnetic drain plug, which, you know, we already know there's going to be a little bit of metal in this motor from the camshaft getting destroyed. But our little thing held some oil there. Alright. So we got that taken care of. Now what you're going to have to do on your exhaust is you're going to have to undo this downpipe. You're going to need it out of the way. That way you can access the bottom of this oil pan. Now what you can do is you can click on the bottom of this oil pan, and since this oil pan has got a tensioner on it, you're going to have to deal with the tensioner. So you got to undo the belts before you can even get the oil pan off. Boy, these engines are getting more weird every year. Alright, so let's go ahead and remove our tensioner, our brand new tensioner belt that's brand new. I don't even know where the old one was. It wasn't even on the car. Alright, so now we can take this idler roller off, which is going to give us the clearance of what we need to take our oil pan off. That way we can see exactly what cylinder it is, and we can also get the casting numbers off of the connecting rod. Sometimes they got casting numbers, and you can wipe off the connecting rod and you can get those numbers, and you can order the pistons that you need and the connecting rod. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And which cylinder is it that got destroyed? Alright, so it is the middle. Yeah, the middle cylinder, and it took out the connecting rod. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark that on our parts inventory. We scan that with our little nifty scan tool, and it let us know, you know, read the barcode on it and let us know what type of piston that we're going to need. But we're going to get a parts list together first. But this is what you call in-framing. So now you can get to that piston and connecting rod, but you got to pull the head off now. You're just leaving the block in the car. That way you ain't having to pull the transmission and all that other stuff out of the way. We're going to get this out of the way. Basically, we're freeing up the engine bay. Just for safety reasons, pull the radiator out of the way. Do not leave it in here in case, you know, pulling off this exhaust manifold, you got more room to work, guys. Even though you're removing unnecessary stuff that you wouldn't normally have to remove, look at how much room we got now. And we're going to even move this, get this out of the way. Look at all this room we got. If you were looking into this car, you got all this room up in front of the engine that you can work around. It gives you an easier workspace. So we know we're going to have to pull the exhaust manifold off. I bet you would see some wonderful stuff going on in here right now. That's where the exhaust valves open, and I guarantee you there's some wonderfulness going on into that. But we're going to go ahead and pull off our harmonic balancer. You got to pull off the idler pulley. And now we can pull our... Nope, we can't pull our timing cover. Okay, so the valve cover itself is held on that holds the timing belt cover on. So we got to pull our fuel injectors out. We know we're going to have to order that. We know we're going to need this cylinder head, so I went ahead and scanned it and marked it. See which camshaft took a dump. Okay, so it was the intake. So maybe we didn't see anything on the exhaust side, but we are going to need a new camshaft. And now we can pull this timing cover off. And is that a timing belt or a chain? That is a timing belt, and it looks like the cam phaser gave it up too. That may have been the reason why it done it. The cam phaser malfunctioned, which allowed the cam to get out of alignment, which piston comes up, hits valve, locks down camshaft, breaks camshaft. You just gotta, it's like a domino effect. When one part fails, it can cause 20 other ones to break all at the same time. And guys, I know the ones that actually work on vehicles, they will agree with me on this. You can have one minute little part to break and it can destroy a whole engine. Go ahead and let a valve seat get out of place. Your valve spring retainers pop out on you, and watch what type of problems you got. You'll be replacing an engine. I know this because I've done it before on my H22 and my Prelude. I was using some Fiero valves, and I wasn't using the little special valve compressing tool, and I didn't have one of my valve keepers in there correctly, and guess what? It popped out and dropped a cylinder going down the road. And whenever it dropped it, I was turning up about 8,500 RPM. Oh, the wonders of shrapnel in this engine. I actually still got a picture of it, and if I can find it, I will post the picture of that engine at the end of this YouTube video, or so y'all can actually see what happened to the real car in real life that this happened to. So the belt is good. We're going to need a cam phaser. We've done already marked that, so we're just going to pull this off. We are going to have to pull the intake manifold. That's got to come off. Now, back here, this would kind of be a little bit difficult to get to, but we can get to it. So you would need a new gap. Boy, that thing's got some huge intake runners. That thing's got two massive holes. It ain't no wonder why this 3-cylinder produces so much torque and power. Just imagine if they done that to an extra cylinder on this motor. Boy, that thing would be flying. Alright, so remember, you got 4. So what you want to do is you want to pull this one, crisscross, go back and forth, this one, then back up over here to this one. You don't have to do this in the game, guys. Y'all can pull it straight off going down. I'm just saying, in real life, you would probably have to loosen these up in that order a little bit at a time. And now that's going to let us pull this camshaft out. Alright, but we're going to have to deassemble this whole head because it's just got to come off. So I'm just going to go down the line on this one. You know, you would really do it in an actual torque pattern. You would release every one of these a little bit at a time to make sure that you don't bend a valve. And before you do this, you want to make sure your engine is at top dead center. That way, if this camshaft does try to turn on you, you're not having, you know, piston to valve clearance is there. Unless this is a low compression motor and it's a non-interference motor. I don't think it's a non-interference because something locked up this cam phaser and broke everything. And then it also destroyed the piston. So, I think it's a high compression motor, and there was, you know, tolerances that you had to stand by. But that's just my opinion. All I know is that it's destroyed and we got to fix it. So it been needing oh my lord. Like, I don't even know how they was even getting this car to run anyways. Alright, so all 3 of the spark plugs were destroyed. Now that could be a bad sign. You know, our electronics identified that it was only this cylinder, but we're fixing to find out if any other cylinders were damaged. Go ahead and pull the head off. Get ready for the river of coolant that's going to go everywhere whenever you do this. Alright, so we got it off. There is no cylinder damage to the other. Obviously, y'all can tell that one's destroyed. I don't see any Mars on the cylinder wall or any scratches. Nothing that identified that this piston come up and, you know, kiss the valve, as we call it. When the piston kisses a valve, it is detrimental to a motor. So, I guess we do need to pull that oil filter off, because I don't think I got any 3-cylinder oil filters in stock, because that's the first time I've ever worked on one of these. Let's go ahead and tag it, because O'Reilly's is fisting to have a list, boy. We're just going to take this filter off. We done already drained the oil, but a little bit's probably going to spill everywhere, but we got some shop towels. Shop rags, that way we can rewash them and use them for ourselves. Alright, so guys, if y'all have a shop, invest in the shop rags and not paper towels. Guys, I'm not a tree hugger by any means, but I do respect nature. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, don't kill the trees, but we got other means of building stuff nowadays. I'm a firm believer of building a house out of wood. I believe that that's what the trees were put here for, is for us to harvest. But if it's a wasteful harvest, don't do it. Why do you need paper towels whenever you can use shop rags? You can throw them in a washing machine, wash them with some Dawn and degreaser, and voila, they even smell better than a paper towel. So, and you can reuse them. But that's just my opinion on shop towels. I don't use them. I use shop rags and actual shop towels, like what you would dry off with once you got out of the shower. A towel, yeah. So let's go ahead and get these parts ordered. Open shopping list. Fuel rail, order. You know what? Before we do it, let's take everything to the machine shop and let's see if we can actually fix any of this stuff. So far, it's just looking like brakes, guys. It's not looking good. And we're also going to do a service to the radiator since we got it pulled out. It only takes a couple of minutes to clean the bugs off with a mild acid solution and run a comb through it, a radiator comb. The intake manifold just need to be cleaned out. Valve cover cleaned up. That's all this is. The 5% is just cleaning. Throttle body need to be cleaned. The intake manifold cleaned, and the camshaft. We went ahead and repolished all the cam lobes and in our machine shop. So we got everything ready. But unfortunately, none of the items that I tagged we could actually fix. So we're gonna need that. All right. We've already got the. Come on, computer, quit kicking me off. All right. We have some rings in stock for this motor, so we just need one piston with connecting rod. We can't put a forged piston and connecting rod in here and then have regular pistons, but we could put a high flowing head on this car. Okay, $950 for this head. Let's see if we can bless these people. We're gonna wake this bad boy up. We're going to see $950. So let's just, for giggles, let's see how much a performance head costs. So literally $1,000 more is what it's going to cost to put it, give them 7% more, a high flowing head. This is also going to give you a little bit more cylinder room, so it will extend the piston to valve clearance. It's a little bit bigger of a head. It's going to lower the compression, but the overall flow of the head will allow the same amount, if not more, air into the cylinder. But guess what? If it ever locks up a cam phaser, it's just going to backfire through the intake manifold, and that's going to be it. You ain't got to worry about it taking out a piston. So we're going to go ahead and bless them. We're getting it. Driven by Christ Auto's doing it. We're buying a performance head, that way that our customer never has to deal with this problem again. And plus we get a discount. So we're going to get that. We've already got spark plugs in stock. Now we are going to keep the factory camshaft, because if you upgrade the cam, that's going to give it more lift and duration, meaning it's going to push that valve open a lot further and hold it open a lot longer. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to put the regular camshaft back in. That way, you know, the upgrade that we done to the cylinder head is, you know, it's not canceling each other out. Boy, this computer kicks me off. One more time, you're going to meet Jesus today. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little bit wound up right now. Too much Red Bull. We're going to get a cam phaser. Needs a new, because that's what originally what destroyed this engine, was this part failing. Alright. And I don't know how the timing belt was still good. Boy, that must be one strong timing belt there. That's one of them Gates timing belts, one of them Kevlar blue RPM series. All right, we got an oil filter. So, all right, so we got our order in for O'Reilly's. Let's go over here. We fixed the calipers, we resealed them, cleaned them up. So let's go ahead and turn some rotors out. Shouldn't take very long. Just one sweep, and that should be it. And that should be it right there. 2 sweeps? Really? I know how this machine works, and it should have done that with 1 sweep. Man, this machine's eating up people's rotors. I don't like this machine. Alright, but we got 4 of them we gotta do, so, but I don't know if y'all actually saw how this works, but there is a metal cutting bit right there, and what it does is whenever you twist this knob, it pulls it this direction into the rotor, and you can measure how many thousandths that this cutting bit is going to remove from the surface of this rotor from here to there. And as that normally they got diamond carbide cutting tips, or I forgot actually what they're called. It's a really strong metal and sharp metal, but what it does is it barely scrapes that rotor off, and little flakes of metal shoot off everywhere. So make sure you're wearing your safety glasses. And this is what you call a silencing ring. This thing makes a tremendous amount of noise if you do not put the silencing ring on there, and the harmonics of it vibrating and shaking can also affect how it cuts this thing. So anyways, just kind of wanted to explain that for the new people that don't know how this machine works. And you got one on both sides, so it does the same thing. You adjust this side, you adjust that side, and then this is your in and out. Basically this would make it go this way like that. That's what that does. This handle, like if I were to twist it, it would actually make it go in. If I were to twist it to the left, it would make it come out. But I know how to use one of these in real life. I actually had one at my shop, and this saved people a lot of money. It was a whole lot better than buying a whole new rotor whenever you could just resurface it. And then they started coming out with all these tolerance laws where if most people knew there was a divot on the side of this rotor, like on the very side, like right here where I got it, there was like a little notch that was cut out. And if the rotor was still above that cutout notch, that meant that you could resurface it. But if you could not see that cutout notch no more in that rotor, then that means you couldn't resurface it. It was time to get a new rotor, because you do not want to cut these down to where they're really thin, because the thinner they are, the hotter this rotor the hotter that rotor gets quicker. And you don't want your rotors to get so hot that they fail, that they get hot, they turn cherry red. Your brake pads cannot stop it because the metal is starting to turn into a soft, almost like Play-Doh, because it's so hard. That would be like you putting some Play-Doh for a rotor and trying to grab it and stop a vehicle. It's not going to work. So, and then it will crystallize your brake pads. So let's get this thing up in the air. Alright, I just heard the door crash behind me, so Jamie put our parts out back over there. So we got everything that we need. we're fixing to go ahead and assemble this engine back together and put some new brakes on here, and we're gonna have a happy customer. Especially whenever we give them the numbers on the dyno and show them that, you know, look, we seen what the problem was. Apparently this car has a recall on the cam phaser from what Jamie found out whenever they ordered the parts, that the cam phaser fails on here, causes the valve to touch the piston, and could possibly lock it up and break a camshaft like what happened with us. You can't resurface a broken camshaft, guys. You can't re-weld it neither and then grind it back down. What they call a re-grinded cam. So we did the best we could do, which is put the upgraded cylinder head, even though it's a performance head, but it accommodates for this problem. If it does happen again, it's just, you know, replacing a cam phaser, and that's it. You put the camshaft back in timing, TDC everything, and replace the cam phaser, and that's it. You're not replacing all these other parts because there's no piston to valve clearance. So, meaning it's an interference motor. We turned it into a non-interference by putting the race head on it, which extends the upper block, which y'all saw was a closed deck system. It's not an open deck, so that means this is a really strong motor. We're going to see what type of horsepower it's going to be throwing down now. Should be a lot more than factory. We're also going to put them a performance air filter in to accommodate for the extra airflow that this engine is going to be pulling through it. So yeah, it seems fun. I mean, this is fun, guys. I absolutely love my job, and we're blessing people. We're helping them. We're not going to charge them the extra $1,000 for that head. That's coming out of my pocket, but I'm going to make sure that these people don't have a problem again. So, we got to get to that piston. So, we got to raise the car back up. Should have never let that car down, guys. But anyway, so how you pull the piston out, you get up underneath here. What you're going to do is break the connecting rod cap loose. And now you can take you a wooden hand, or the end of a wooden handle, and you can push up on this piston and it'll come out of the top part of the block. Just remember, even though you don't have the head on it, make sure you turn that crankshaft where it pulls this cylinder all the way down. That way whenever you pop that piston in, watch, it's going to come out of the head. See? Alright, whenever you push that piston back down into here, you don't have to worry about the connecting rod slamming into the crankshaft and marring it all up. So, just make sure you turn the crank just enough to get the piston put back into there and torque down the spec, then put it back to TDC and put your head on. Just rules of advice. So we got the new piston. We're supposed to put the new piston in as soon as I can get this thing to do right. Alright, remember there's going to be like a little ring compressor tool that you lay down on the block, and then you shove the piston and the connecting rod and rings right into there. New piston, 100% rings. Boom, it's in there. We're done. So now we got to connect it to the crankshaft and retorque it. Dang, that thing is still charging up. Alright, so let's see. Alright, so put our new, what you would want to do is put some assembly lube on all this stuff. Lube up the cylinder before you put the piston in. Assembly lube goes a long way. Lucas racing products, or Lucas oil products, make some really good assembly lube. Hyperlube does too, but I use that as an additive in my oil. This is going to probably have a 3-stage torque. You torque it down to like 10, then the next one's a certain amount, and then you have your final torque sequence. Now, what I would do, and they don't show this on here, but they got this tape. You can make sure it's clearance tape. It's like a piece of wax paper. But what it does is whenever you torque this crankshaft down, there is clearance in between that connecting rod and the bearing and the crankshaft, there's clearance in between this. And you want to make sure that the connecting rod and bearing is the right one, because if you put the wrong one on there and you torque it down, it's going to crush that bearing and squeeze it into the crankshaft, and there is going to be no clearance for oil to even travel through. And whenever you crank this engine up, it is going to eat that connecting rod, bearing, and crankshaft all up, and then you've pretty much ruined a crank. So what that tape does is whenever you torque it down, it lets you know that there is the right clearance in between that connecting rod and your bearing and the crankshaft. And you basically untorque it again, pull it apart, and see how much it squished that tape out, and you measure it with the little plastic gauge that they give you, and it tells you. And if it comes out right, okay, you're good. Go ahead and put it back up there, retorque it 3 times, and you're done in here. You're ready to throw the oil pan back on. And we are done in the bottom end of this engine. If you want to, you can go ahead and put the exhaust back up here, but I would probably leave it out of the way for right now. You know, just so you got more room to work up front. We'll put that on last. We'll go ahead and screw on our new oil filter while we're up underneath here, and that's going to be it until we put the downpipe on. Now we got to build the top side of the engine. So, alright, let's go ahead and put our new race head on there. Look at this. Boy, look at that thing. So you got some exhaust ports on there. So it looks like they got that tune port exhaust, but it's per cylinder. They put a lot of performance technology into this little 3-cylinder though. You got cam phasers, you got two different sensors on each cam, the cam angle and lobe sensor. So that's a lot of technology. I can only imagine if there was one more cylinder added to this, how much power this thing would actually make. And then if you threw a turbo on it, oh man. Don't get me started on turbos, but anyways, we'll go ahead and put these back onto there. We was able to reuse these, so they wasn't damaged in any way. We probably could have took it to the machine shop and remachined it, but since it's already worn, well, no, because that was a new camshaft. We could have done that, but we've already got it back together. It ain't gonna be no hurt done to it. I mean, it's we should have actually put our spark plugs in before we done anything, because if you ever drop one of these bolts down into there, it is a nightmare. So go ahead and put the spark plugs in so we don't drop any bolts. And yes, we the only thing we use here at Driven by Christ Auto is the performance plugs. We don't use cheap plugs here. So we can put the ignition coils on after we get this other cam in. Alright, and let's hit the torque sequence. Boom. Left, or middle, left, then we go right, and then we go all the way to the left. Man, I like the way that head looks. That's a nice looking head. I mean, you can see it polished aluminum. Got the titanium, the Fiero race valve set into it with the titanium retainers. Very nice. Very nice. Alright, cam gear. Another cam gear. And we're going to take that old one back, and they actually want that cam phaser back so they can figure out what failed into it, because these cars are up underneath a recall right now. That's the reason why we got to make sure that we give the customer a receipt, because the manufacturer's going to actually pay for this performance head that does away with this problem. It's a good thing that auto manufacturer company even done that. Most of them will sit there and blame it on something else, but at least they're standing up for their work. So this is the fix, kind of like the 4L60 transmissions. Good transmission, but the original hardware was garbage. If you get the rebuild kit for the 4L60 and the 4L80 Chevy transmissions, you get the new clutch kit. that, and I'm not talking, this is an automatic. They do have clutch disc in there in between the automatic transmission. It's internally in the transmission. I'm not talking about in between the clutch, in between the transmission and the motor, because there isn't one. There's a torque converter on an automatic transmission. So let's get the valve cover on. But anyways, they had a faulty part. If you rebuilt it with the new parts that were better, guess what? That transmission didn't fail. It lasted for the life of that truck. Unless you raced them like I did. But, anyways, you know, make sure everything is at TDC whenever you're doing all this. Before you even put your timing belt and your tensioner on, put the valve cover back on. There we go. Ignition coils. Nope, we're not gonna get that crazy. They still had good ignition coils. The ignition coils didn't cause the failing problem, so it was just the factory defect on the cam phaser locking up and doing all of that. Alright, so, ooh, my camera batteries let me know that I only have 5 minutes left before the battery goes dead. So I think we may be able to get this back together in 5 minutes, but then again, no, I'm not going to be able to do it, because I got a few more things that I got to fix. I got to clean this throttle body up for them. Hey, we was able to resurface that connecting rod too. It won't let me fix the throttle body. I guess it's all the way good. But anyways, guys, we're going to continue to assemble this car. After lunch, Jamie's having a fit. She's wanting to go to lunch. She was literally waiting for the camera to die. So we're going to catch y'all after a lunch break. We're going to finish out this car, you know, contact the customer and get everything done. And then we're going to make a decision on what is the next car that we are going to build as a race car for Driven by Christ Auto. So anyways, guys, I'll catch y'all after lunch. Y'all have a blessed day. I'm trying to think. It's like I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, let's make sure that we do have the correct air filter. Because remember guys, we are flowing a lot more air than normal because of this head. So we want to make sure that our air filter is not restrictive, because we know our intake is going to be restrictive, but it can at least flow enough air for the head. But we gotta upgrade the air filter. Oh my lord, this thing is, I'm glad we checked that. So, yeah, we got some in stock. Yay! But, anyways, I'm gonna throw these clips back on here and, go jump in the truck, and we're gonna go grab a bite to eat real quick. So, I don't know where we're gonna go eat at. I think we may go get some corn dogs from Sonic. That don't sound that bad. Or Coney Island. We may go to Coney Island and go get some real corn dogs. It's made with that sweet batter and like a big ballpark frank, and it's look like it's got a chopstick shoved in the end of it. Those are them real corn dogs, son. Them things are so good. Yeah, we're going to Coney Island because I want some chili on mine. No stick. Chili cheese coney. Ooh. Alright. Anyways, guys, I'll see y'all later after lunch. We'll catch y'all on part 2 of Driven by Christ Auto. Later.